The question number 5 is, what can Aaron say about forgiveness in connection with atonement?
All right, there you go.
Yeah, what's the passage coming to mind about the atonement? I think there's one passage I love that says, the atonement corrects illusions, thus it corrects what never was.
Wow.
That's so cute.
I love how cheeky the Course is about that stuff. It plays with the concept of illusion a lot, and I think that's been a very helpful concept for me because maybe we'll get into this in the next question, talking about the daily lessons, but the whole concept of projection and image making, is so helpful for me with the Course in showing that, like, I think one of the opening passages of the Course says, the world you see reflects your own internal frame of reference, right? So you look inside yourself and decide the kind of world you want to see, and then you project that outside of yourself. And then the world you're projecting causes you pain and suffering and anger and unforgiveness. And really, you're doing it to yourself, right? Because you made all those images up, and they're just illusions. As soon as you see that they're not real, they're gone, right? So that's kind of what forgiveness is another verse I love, I quote sometimes, is it says, salvation is a paradox indeed, for it asks that you forgive what no one ever did. Which is kind of the idea that the Course teaches. Forgiveness is not overlooking the truth, right? The Course will say you struggle to forgive because you believe you're overlooking the truth. But what you need to see is that you are you're making an image up in place of the truth. So this person attacked me, they betrayed me, how could they do that to me? And the me you're referring to is the self-images, the ego, the body, the ideas, right? Your ideas about yourself are offended. And so the Course just hammers again and again, the Son of God is innocent. He cannot be harmed. He cannot be attacked. So if you believe someone has attacked you, you are insane and require healing. Again, just like straight to the point, no nonsense, right? You are insane and require healing. And some people, will get their ego triggered by hearing that. How dare you call me insane? But for me, it was like honey, milk and honey from heaven or something. Like, thank you for telling me I'm insane, because I thought I was sane. I thought all this horrible stuff I was seeing and feeling was the truth. And I thought I had to overlook the truth. And the Course says, no, forgiveness is not overlooking the truth. Forgiveness is knowing who you are and knowing I cannot be attacked. I'm the holy, innocent Son of God. And that's the atonement, the at-one-ment, where you've changed your perception from duality to oneness.
Wow.
Perfect.
Profound.
Yes, it is. Yes, at-one-ment. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I was so enlightened. Actually, I really like your current video about desire and expectations. I really learned a lot from there. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I almost used some Course references in that video, because the term, again, using different language, right? Using Christian language, the term that the Course uses for desires and outcomes is idol worship, right? It calls that worshiping idols. When you think an outcome can satisfy you, you are worshiping an idol.
Wow.
So again, helps bring the Bible to life, right? In a new way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So anyone else has a question for Aaron before we, how much time do we have left?
Yeah, I think the last question, I would like to ask the last question.
Yes, go ahead, Belle.
Aaron, do you have any particular lesson or text from ACIM that you would like to share with us? Something that was very recently that has stood out for you, a very recent lesson that you've had from ACIM.
Very recent.
Can you share?
Yeah, typically I'll post on my Instagram. I have a story highlight on my Instagram called ACIM quotes. And I'll probably, usually about once a week, I'll post a Course quote that I've read that hit me. So let's see what the last one was. There's so many good ones, man.
Oh, yes.
Here's a good one. This is lesson 158. It says, Christ's vision has one law. It does not look upon a body and mistake it for the Son whom God created. It beholds a light beyond the body, an idea beyond what can be touched, a purity undimmed by errors, pitiful mistakes, and fearful thoughts of guilt from dreams of sin. It sees no separation, as we talked about. And it looks on everyone, on every circumstance, all happenings and all events, without the slightest fading of the light it sees. That one hit me because I actually just read or listened to a passage from the Law of One that I've heard it before, but something about it struck me for the first time, where they're asking Ra about a balanced, they call it a balanced entity, an entity who is free of distortions. The Course would say someone who's found the peace of God. And they said, what would happen in a situation if a balanced entity is attacked, like physically attacked by another person who's trying to harm them? Would they respond with anger, and then they would, balance the anger and have compassion for the person? Would they have to do that? And Ross says, this is incorrect. To the balanced entity, there is no reaction. And I went, whoa, like that's a new level of freedom right there. Yeah. Meaning, not saying they wouldn't maybe try to defend themselves or get away, I don't know. But it means they would not feel any kind of animosity towards the attacker because their perception is totally clear. The Course calls that vision, right? They can see this person exactly as they are immediately. They see, oh, this is a hurting, suffering person who's just offloading their pain. They can't do anything else. It's really not even them doing it, right? It's the program in their mind talking to them. So there's nothing to forgive. I have nothing against them. I see them clearly as Christ sees them. In fact, I see them as the Christ, trapped inside this little ego that's controlling them. And so the only response is compassion, right? And I love the way that passage lays that idea out. It looks upon all circumstance, all happenings, and all events without the slightest fading of the light that it sees. So for me, that kind of just becomes a vision that I hold on to, saying, okay, that's the goal, right? That's where I want to get to, where I become unreactive to life. I can see everything. I can see God in everything. And until I am at that point, I know there's still work to be done, right? There's still some forgiveness to be had somewhere. And I think forgiveness is so universal in that way that it's not just talking about forgiving a person for a grievance or something, but forgive the whole world, right? Forgive the way that you see everything. Forgive politics, forgive corruption, forgive child trafficking. You have to stop hating those things if you're going to transform them. And that's the concept of projection, right? Is actually by seeing the, let's say, murderer or child abuser, by seeing them as a child abuser or a murderer, I'm actually perpetuating that. I'm actually creating that. And the Course would say, if I see you as what you think you are, I'm as insane as you are. I don't think the Course says that literally, but it alludes to that idea that if I take your offense seriously and I define you according to that illusion, I'm as insane as you are, right? Because I believe the same illusion. So it's up to me to see the light of God in you. It's up to me to see the Son of God in you. And if I can see the Son of God in you, I can call it out of you, right? But if I don't see it, I can't call it out of you. So again, forgiveness is the path to heaven. You can forgive your way to heaven, forgive your way to enlightenment, which is really just refusing to see anything as separate from God.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Can you tie that up with separation, please, with a short explanation on separation as the Course in Miracles describes it? Because what you just said is tied up with the concept with ACIM's concept of separation. Can you please explain some more about that, please?
Sure. Yeah, actually, this is another concept that parallels really well with the Law of One, because the Law of One talks about the 7 densities of consciousness, right? And we in this plane that we're in right now are 3rd density beings, So first density is the density of pure beingness. So that's just the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and air. So the planet Earth was in a first density of consciousness for like 2 billion years as those 4 elements interacted with one another, until eventually the spark of awareness is born and consciousness evolves into the second density, which is growth and movement, where now there's some awareness of my environment. So plants, insects, microbial life, animal life, anything with growth and movement is second density of consciousness. And then when consciousness evolves enough to become self-aware, that's third density. And so that happened to us as a species somewhere around 75,000 years ago, when ancient humans at some point, as we evolved from higher hominids or whatever, we would have had to start using language at some point, right? So ancient primates or humans would have started making noises to refer to things. And that's when the first image making, as the Course would say, began, where we used concepts to refer to reality. And that's helpful in a lot of ways. It gave us technology and all the things we see today. So a totally necessary part of the evolution of consciousness and human growth. But at the same time, it's the cause of all of our suffering. And there's a great line from the Course that says, I think it says, let us not forget that ideas are merely symbols of symbols. Thus, they are twice removed from reality. And that's the idea of how, like, we need to stop labeling reality and thinking we know what it means if we are to see it through the eyes of God. So there's passages they'll say things like, let us be still an instant and forget all things we ever learned, of what things mean and what their purpose is and what the world is for. We do not know, right? Well, yes, I do too know. I know what the world is for, says the ego. And it's like, okay, sure, you can have that interpretation as long as you want, until it doesn't work for you anymore, right? Until you suffer enough, as the Course would kind of approach that. So in third density, when we started using language to refer to one another, right? Because at some point we would have started making noises to refer to other apes or hominids in the group. So I have a noise, and when people say my noise, I know that they mean me. So now consciousness sort of flips in on itself and becomes an object to itself. That's self-awareness. So you have to have language first to have self-awareness, which is why animals don't have the level of self-awareness we have, because they don't use verbal language. So they don't put conceptual images over reality. Like when I say bird, a concept appears in my mind. I've seen birds before. I know what birds do. Basically have the gist of it. That's a bird. I got it. And I move on. I don't see the aliveness of the bird, the present moment. I'm not tuned in with what I'm seeing now, the mystery of this thing the universe is doing in this creature, right? It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I'm not seeing it that way, right? I'm seeing it as some dead-end concept that I've referred to a million times. I know it, right? That's projection. And so when we do that to ourselves, we come up with self-images. I am this, I am that. So that's the belief in separation, as the Course would say. The tiny mad idea, there's another way they call it, where the Son of God believed it was separate from its Father.
And he forgot to laugh.
Right, exactly. So if I think I'm separate from my source, fear is the belief in separation, right? The ego is the belief in separation. They're synonymous. If I believe that I'm separate from my source, then I must fear. I must be afraid of reality, because now reality can be an enemy, potentially. It can be an attacker, potentially. And so we have to correct that misperception of being separate by forgiving others of what we think they've done to us. And we can only forgive what we think people have done to us if we see ourselves as eternal, right? If I see myself as finite, as temporary, as separate, well, then I can be threatened and attacked. But if I know I am the eternal, holy, innocent Son of God, I know I can't ever be attacked. No one can harm me because I'm one with my Father. So there's a passage that says, I think it's a lesson actually. It says, now try to reach the Son of God in you. This is the self that never sinned, nor made an image to replace reality.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
perfect.
Wow.
Nothing ever happened. We have a question.